Caroline Dowd-Higgins. Thank you for listening to Your Working Life, my podcast series featuring thought leaders in the career and personal growth arena. You spend a significant portion of your life at work, so my goal is to provide you with tools, inspiration, and resources so you can enjoy your career and love your life. And I'm delighted to welcome a dynamic duo of amazing women, Sabrina Liak and Dixie Klaibert, to the show today. Sabrina, Dixie, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, Caroline. We're very excited to be here, and thank you for the opportunity.
Oh my goodness, I'm thrilled to have you both, and it's really fun to have you. Where are you located these days? Where are you both living?
Well, sorry, go ahead.
Dixie, I'm located in Victoria. It's on Vancouver Island, so just off the west coast of Canada.
Got it. And Sabrina, you're in New York City?
No, right now I just moved from New York and I'm in Vancouver on the West Coast as well.
Okay, got it. Well, thank you both for joining me, and we do have a wonderful international audience, so thank you so much for joining me. Let me tell our listening audience a little bit about you. Dixie Klaibert began her career at Merrill Lynch in New York, trading corporate bonds and credit deliverables. And while at Merrill Lynch, she navigated her portfolio through the financial crisis of 2008. And then she moved to London, just in time to witness the Europeans market start to waver. But today, Dixie is a founding partner of Beacon Hill Wealth Management, an investment management firm, and of course, the co-founder of FinVogue. And Sabrina, let me tell the audience all about you. Sabrina Liak started her career at DLJ, which we now know as Credit Suisse, in New York, and investment banking, and she later joined Goldman Sachs in their commodities trading group. At Goldman Sachs, she became a managing director and private equity portfolio manager, and she now continues to advise companies on corporate and financial strategy. And as I mentioned, these two amazing women founded FinVogue. So ladies, tell me about FinVogue and why you decided to start this career advice website.
Well, thanks for that lovely introduction, Caroline. Dixie and I, as you can probably tell from our backgrounds, really loved our careers on Wall Street. But we noticed that the recruiting process was becoming a lot more formulaic. And there were, what we like to say, two groups of people, one who had the roadmap and another set of people who didn't even know a map existed.
Right.
And so our goal with FinVogue was to level the playing field and promote a more diverse work environment from all aspects: gender, culture, experience. And as we mentioned, we're both from Canada and from small towns, and we were really fortunate and lucky to have found wonderful mentors. And I think that's one of the main reasons that we survived and made it on Wall Street. So we thought FinVogue would be a great way to give everyone access to good advice, from everything on how to prepare for a finance interview to how to deliver a killer presentation.
Which is fantastic, and I'm so honored that you're paying it forward. And as a fellow advocate for women, I'm impressed with how you're sharing your wisdom and expertise with other women internationally. So, Dixie, let me ask you: being a woman trader, and it's still a predominantly male environment, must have been very interesting. Any interesting stories or experiences that you'd like to share today?
Oh, sure, Caroline. Trading floors are pretty funny places, and they all share two distinct features. One is that they are filled mostly with men, and the second, that they're devoid of any sense of privacy. And having never been in a men's locker room, this was really my first foray into this type of world. And there's this dichotomy of the extrovert kind of macho guys trying to outdo each other, mixed with the more nerdy finance types who are just trying to keep their head down and not get picked on. But instead of competing in football or sports, these guys would flex their might by, who could have the most computer monitors. No one really needs 12 computer monitors. Or one of my favorite challenges that would come up about once a year was to eat one of each item in the vending machine, including the row of gum. Now, these are really well-paid professionals managing billions of dollars and intent on determining who could down the vast array of Doritos and M&Ms. And the whole environment, it was really mostly lighthearted, juvenile behavior. I remember one day a broker sent our desk a box of little laser pointers. And just the simple joy and fascination that this group of grown men found in playing with laser pointers, it was like watching toddlers play with bubbles.
So it was literally the financial locker room.
It really was.
So let's turn that to FinVogue and the type of advice that you might be able to help future and aspiring women traders. What kinds of resources would you share with them on the website?
I think a huge part of the resource on the website is the roadmap that Sabrina mentioned, and just explaining the different parts of a trading floor and how they work and fit together. That's information that unless you've actually been on a trading floor or know someone personally who works on a trading floor, it's really difficult to figure out what all the acronyms for the different departments mean and how they all fit together. That's the more professional and quantitative side of it, but there's also a very qualitative side to working on a trading floor. And especially being a woman on a trading floor with thousands of men, it's really difficult to find a senior mentor, someone that you can relate to. So to the extent that I can share some of my stories and my experience, things that worked and my failures along the way as well, I think it'll really help young women who are looking to sales and trading as a career, because it's a fabulous, really fun place to work.
That's incredible, and I appreciate the safe space, right? Especially for women contemplating the career. Sabrina, tell us what it was like being a managing director and portfolio manager at Goldman.
Well, as we've talked about, there aren't that many women in senior finance roles, and there are even fewer women in investing roles. Within Goldman Sachs, I found that being a woman was an advantage, and a big part of being a successful investor boils down to having a differentiated perspective. And I had a different experience background than my colleagues, and that was really valued by my team. However, I found that in portfolio company situations, sometimes the situations were a little bit more tricky. And I distinctly remember, because I covered oil and gas at the time, being in a board meeting and having one of the senior VPs of a small Houston-based oil and gas company talk about diversity. The presentation went kind of like this. We have great diversity here at our company. We have someone here from Brazos County, and we have someone here from Leon County, and we have someone here from Henderson County, and we even have someone here from Louisiana. And heck, she's a woman.
Wow. Isn't that something? I guess it's all about perspective. Oh my goodness.
So it was a great experience, and I found that being a woman in the space was very empowering, but once in a while there were some funny opportunities and funny twists.
So, ladies, let me ask you both the same question, and it's a segue from what we're talking about. There are so few women in the financial realm. What drew you to the world of finance for your careers?
I'll take this one first, Sabrina. I started. I found myself in a program at the University of British Columbia, in chance, really. And it was called the Portfolio Management Foundation, and it was a really intensive program that gave students the ability to manage a real portfolio of funds while still in school. And it was an area that I really didn't know much about, and just having that opportunity to learn in a hands-on environment and have access to these senior mentors throughout the finance community. And I saw graduates of the program do these fabulous things like move to New York and Hong Kong and London. And I thought, I can do that. And while I was working on my undergraduate degree, I had the opportunity to meet a really distinguished alumnus of the program, Miss Jackie Zenner, who told me that if I ever felt too comfortable, I wasn't trying hard enough. And it was a really interesting piece of advice, and I took her words with me when I first moved from my little island in Canada to New York, and it was really uncomfortable, and I was scared, but at the same time, my world just exploded with this opportunity in finance, and I set off on this learning curve professionally that it was really amazing. And fast forward 10 years and living in New York, that was my new comfort zone, and I was so comfortable in my career as a trader. And I went back to Jackie's advice and a lot of my mentors that I'd met throughout the program, and I knew that I had to make a change and challenge myself. So I moved to London and learned a new market and grew personally and professionally, and I really found momentum. And that was something that I really loved about finance is there's so many different facets to the profession that you can have a complete career change. And still use the same skill set that you developed somewhere else. And I just love the momentum and the change of the industry.
Excellent, excellent. Always good too to hear about that mentor relationship. That was certainly a spark. Any other perspective?
It's great to have.
Yeah, what drew you to the profession?
So for me, it was I'm embarrassed to admit, I'm a big nerd in university, and I took a finance class, and I just fell in love with the corporate finance strategies. It sounds so, funny to say that, but I was just really interested in, capital arbitrage models and CAPM theory and derivatives. And it was just something I found myself really engrossed in. And so when Goldman came on campus and the other banks, I was really eager to meet them. And it just went from there.
I celebrate that intellectual connection. Good for you, my dear. I think that's wonderful. So, cheers to the nerds. It's a brilliant thing. So let's take that a step further. And what was the best piece of advice that you've ever received? And it doesn't have to be something that was early on in your career. It could be, but it could be something more recent too.
Well, I think a piece of advice that I got that has really stuck with me is that even though I love finance, one of my mentors pushed me to think about other career options in the sense that, did I like media or do I also like building businesses? And if so, is there a career within finance that, touches these sectors? Because I may love finance today, but as I grow as a person and I start a family, I might find that I have different needs and that could be filled in different sectors. And so one example that he gave was if I like movies, I should start to think about working on a media team within investment banking. Or if I'm interested in startups, I could go work at a lender to the Silicon Valley venture capital world.
Right. Yeah.
And that's a way as a finance professional to kind of touch these other industries. And also, if I do well, presumably, corporate clients might say, hey, Sabrina, why don't you come and work with me at this movie studio? You've done a great job in investment banking. Maybe you could work in our finance department. And that's something that I thought was, really resonated with me in terms of creating opportunities and options for the future.
Love it. Broadening the scope. Dixie, how about you?
Early on in my career, and I think a lot of women struggle with this, I did very well in school and was always an outperformer. And then I got to the workplace and I treated it exactly the same as I treated school. And I tried to, complete all my assignments and excel at all the tasks I was given. And at the same time, I wasn't having the desired results that I thought I should have from that. And one of the more senior women on the floor, and there weren't that many of us, she pulled me aside and she said, Dixie, this isn't school. You're not in school anymore. And it took me a little while to figure out what she was talking about. But I realized that, a huge part of my career was not just what I knew and what I could do, but also how I could interact with people and really making those relationships. And it wasn't so important to give your client a great trade idea as it was to get to know your client and really understand what it was that they were looking to do. And that more qualitative side of things was something that I certainly needed help on early on. And I was fortunate to run across Liz, who put me on the right track there pretty early on in my career.
That's great advice. Great advice. So, ladies, speaking of advice, many of the women and men who are listening to the show are contemplating careers in the financial world. So let's focus on perhaps those young professionals emerging right out of university. What advice would you give them as they start this journey?
Well, I think there's a lot of focus when you graduate from university on finding the perfect job. And I think that's really hard to do because you have such a limited scope and such limited experience with what you've seen and touched in the world. And so instead of focusing on the job, I think I would give people the advice that they should focus on just doing a really excellent job and finding a job that they are passionate about in the sense that they're willing to go 110% of the way in terms of working as a team and delivering wonderful product to their managers. Because I found that, at Goldman, I landed first on the sales and trading floor, and then I moved to another group that acquired power assets. And then I ended up moving to private equity, all within the span of 3 years. And, the reason I was able to make those changes was I just worked really, really hard. I worked my butt off and I impressed my managers. And so when I put up my hand and said, this isn't exactly what I want to do, people were more than happy to accommodate me. And it goes to what we're talking about in terms of mentorship and having an advocate. You need to really early in your career build that credibility and that resource base around you.
Nice. Dixie, how about you?
Yeah, I'll just add to where Sabrina went with that. And I think a question I get quite often from people looking at finance as a career is, what's the best area of finance to get into right now? And I always think it's such a funny question because it completely depends on the individual, whether or not you want to go into investment banking or sales and trading or more of a capital markets career or portfolio management. So much of it depends on what you're passionate about and what areas of the industry interest you. Nobody picks the right path the first time. Nobody plays their cards right at every step in their career. And you see these young people so afraid to pick the wrong area or join the wrong group. And, if you join the wrong group, it's not that big a deal. You just do the best you can while you're there, take what you can from that situation, learn from it, build some contacts, and figure out, well, what's the path that I should be on and make the change. And finance is fabulous in that it is an industry where people can move around a lot. It's not something that's looked down upon to change career paths. And it's really a fabulous opportunity for anyone starting out to make those mistakes and figure out, well, why didn't I like that group, and find the area that's just right for them.
Brilliant advice. So let's wrap up, and I'd love for you to tell me more about FinVogue. What can we expect on this website? And then additionally, how can we find it? And how can we follow the two of you out in the social media world?
Sure. Well, we have a lot on the horizon for FinVogue in the coming months. We're launching an interactive job search tool. So not only to help people find a great career for their current skill set, but also to help people identify careers that are stepping stones to one's aspirational jobs. There's so many fabulous jobs out there at companies, both large and small, and we're making them accessible to a broader, more diverse pool of talented individuals. We're also working with the CFA Institute on a series profiling fabulous women in our industry. We want to help young women find positive role models, people they can relate to. And we've had the pleasure of meeting so many talented women. We want to be able to share their stories. And Sabrina and I, both being CFA charter holders, are really interested in finding those women who've achieved the CFA designation and can demonstrate what that can do for people throughout their career.
Excellent.
And then lastly, we've launched a mentorship Q&A forum, which is something I'm really excited about. It's a place where you can ask your finance or career questions, and there are no stupid questions here. It's a safe place, and have them answered by senior professionals, our team of mentors across the industry. So if you live in Bhutan or Iowa, or really any place other than New York, Hong Kong, or London, you can still have access to senior mentors from these financial centers.
Love it. Love it. Would you tell us a little bit about how we can find FinVogue, both in social media and your website?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is www.finvogue.com. And you can find us on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on LinkedIn, and the handle is all the same, FINVOGUE. And we also have a weekly newsletter that we put out with tips and interesting stories from our life on Wall Street, and we'd encourage you to sign up for that too.
Excellent. Dixie Klaibert and Sabrina Liak, thank you so much for all that you're doing to inspire other women in the financial industry and also those contemplating it, and men too. I think your wisdom is something that is applicable to all, but I'm especially grateful in what you're doing to empower women. I wish you continued success with FinVogue and all of your other adventures, and I hope our paths cross again in person soon.
Thank you so much for having us. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Caroline.
You are so welcome. And I want to thank our global audience for tuning in to Your Working Life, where my goal is to help you design your career destiny so it doesn't happen by default. Career and life satisfaction is possible, and it's time to embrace what you love doing so you can do more of it. My show is now available on iTunes, YouTube, Podbean, and Stitcher. I hope you'll consider subscribing so you can get new shows every week. I'm Caroline Dowd-Higgins. Take good care.